back to the Berlin Major, live here in, yeah, you guessed it, Berlin. It's me, Des, it's Tim, to bring you another wonderful game. Sandbox coming up against G2. Probably two teams that most will consider underdogs here at this competition. G2 scrapping it in on the last day. Sandbox coming in second seed to Damwon Kia from APAC North. But all things to say to be sure, this is going to be an absolute screamer of a game, and I can't wait for us to get started. If you have missed the day so far, we've had 3 games. Well, 2 games so far, 4 if you count across both streams, and this will be the 3rd one here on the B stream. We have 8 in total to go through today, and me and Tim here will be bringing you through the next 2, so lots to look forward to.
Yeah, there certainly is, Des. I'm looking forward to getting into things today. We've had some big games already.
Absolutely, and looking how Damwon Kia have kind of slipped down. What are you doing, Tim?
Oh, Des, I knew that you were going to ask me for the time. My watch isn't working, so I've gone back to my boomer days, gone back to being a kid. I've rung the talking clock.
The talking clock? What's it saying?
At the 3rd tone, precise time will be...
Siege time! Let's go! That's the easy one you're looking for. We wouldn't miss out on an intro for you guys, and that's what we were holding out for. Welcome once again to the Berlin Major. This one I cannot wait for because it's our 2 home regions, Tim. Yep. APAC North versus EU. Oh, just who knows what's going to happen?
It's going to be a big one. There's a lot, I think, riding on, I think a lot of expectation for Sandbox coming in, as in...
We look well short, by the way.
We do.
I've just seen this on the screen.
We could have done with a Sandbox ourselves.
Or maybe about 10 of them to get us a little bit higher.
I think expectation-wise for Sandbox, maybe people not expecting too much. They've been on a little bit of a dip over the last 12 months. But for me... and you, I think they could be a little bit of a sleeper at this tournament. They could be one to watch.
I mean, after Damwon Kia fell off the wagon a little bit, it feels like 3 rounds won across 14 played. It's not looking too good. So Sandbox are now the hope coming out of APAC North. And we said it yesterday, sat around the table all talking together, Tim. Sandbox are that team that everyone looks at and isn't going to be expecting much from because we've seen them at so many events now. They've come here, they've got knocked out in groups. Looking back at SI21, they were plus 29 on entry, yet were losing the vast majority of rounds. The big difference now that you guys won't have seen from an international event is the 2 players they've got on side. They now have Good Boy and they've got Arakaze. 2 massive players from the region that are really going to ramp this roster up. Our pick and ban is in though, and Chalet is where we're heading to, Tim. 2 real hot maps for both of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be, rather than teams come in and thinking, right, who can turn out the best performance here? Like you say, this is a good map for both teams. This is going to be who can beat the other. I think we're on for a little bit of a brawl on this one. Like you say, there's going to be, names in there people might not be too familiar with. Arakaze being the big one for me. Watch out for him. He really is one to watch. G2 coming in on form as well. I've said this before. Coming into tournaments, it is about hitting form at the right time. And sometimes the teams that aren't necessarily the best team there will still win the tournament because they hit form at the right time, because they give their best performances. And G2, they are definitely on the up at the end of stage 2.
Are you saying G2 can win it, Tim?
Am I saying G2 can win it, Des?
Who knows? You got to tell me. That's why I'm asking you the question.
No, I'm just going to leave it like that, and I'm going to clip it if they do win it.
And the thing is, if they don't win, then you cover because you haven't directly said it.
Never said
Honestly,
it. Never said that.
The brain inside this cranium, unmatched is the only way I can really describe things. We can hear a lot of cheering. By the way, let's break the 4th wall a little bit. Venue. We're on like a little platform at the end of like a long walkway. Like to our right-hand side, we've got a curtain, so we're pretty safe. We're not going to fall, don't worry, but there is a lovely big drop. Across the way, and we can see all the open staircases up and down, we can see all the teams playing.
Yeah.
If I peel back this curtain here.
If he has a little bit of that.
Okay, yeah, so G2 are right across there, and Sandbox are down 2 floors.
The best bit being, and I always say this for the group stages, is that we can hear them. We can't hear the comms, we can't hear the specifics. But when they go big, when they get excited, which I'm hoping they're going to do on Chalet, we can hear it. And it energizes us, it energizes you. This is what the group stage is about. Yes. Chaos and shouting.
Can we be more energized than 10 players in the server, Tim?
I think we might be able to.
I think we might be able to. Chalet's underway. Sandbox versus G2. The first of 2 games from Sandbox that you'll see here on the B stream. They play here now and they play in our next game too. But for now, let's put all the focus onto Chalet and see who comes out on top. Whose campaign here at the Berlin Major starts with fireworks? It starts right now in the bands, Tim.
Oh, I'm excited, Des. You know that I love, and everybody who follows me on Twitter knows, I love the chaos of group stages. It's what I always...
target man, question mark?
There we go, straight away. It's what I always say. I love the chaos of group stages. We've already seen an upset. For me, we've already seen two. To a degree. Damwon Kia have come in and maybe not performed up to scratch. They've not performed as well as we've seen them in Stage 2. They've lost both of their opening games. It's been a tough start for them, but they did start against two teams that I wouldn't be surprised to see in the Final Four. We've had Elevate beat Astralis earlier on this stream, Des. Is this going to be the stream of broken dreams?
Ooh.
Ooh. Is it going to be the stream of broken dreams today? Is that what we're looking at? Is the B stream the place to be for those upsets? I'm flying.
He's got bars, mate. You've got bars for
I've got them for days.
Jesus. Have a good drink there after a while, I think.
Right, there's some bands been happening as well.
Well, the only real spicy one out the bunch has been the Twitch that came through as the opening target band. That was against Alimouth. You've watched G2 playing throughout the stage. When he plays a more flex role, he will play on things like the Twitch to give him a little bit of aggression. Looking back at early in the EUL stage, it didn't go so well. You'd often have him charging way ahead of the rest of the team, getting himself caught out and brought down. And there were question marks around, well, why? It can be such a valuable operator. But here he's going across to playing on things like the Dakabi. All good team support coming in. And Doki, the Bull Terrier, with Citizen, his trusted owner. The pair of them bringing up the entries here of the Iana and the Finka.
How many woofs can we get on stream if Doki starts getting kills?
I want to hear him start barking across the room. The thing is, here's another fourth wall break for you. We were stood here and ready to go, and across from us there's a double doorway. Down the corridor are the toilets. So naturally, Doki came to go to the loo not too long ago, and he was there giving it all large and chatting, and I was like, you really are barking like a little terrier, aren't you?
Well, is he going to be barking inside of the server? That's what we're going to see. It's round number 1. It's Chalet, and this is the Berlin Major getting underway for Sandbox Gaming and G2 Esports. Both of their first games, and they are both coming out here looking for a big, big start.
Well, with how things are going, they'll have to come back to us for a quick second as far as I've been told, so we'll jump back into things in not too long an amount of time again. But I was just looking for it's us, yeah. I think it's a sound thing or something. We'll sort it out. We'll get back into gaming in a short amount of time, don't worry. All that hype will still continue.
You get to enjoy the shirts for another minute longer. I mean...
Look at it. Stand up.
They are
tippy toes.
Pretty spectacular today.
Ah, aren't they just?
They are pretty spectacular.
The best thing is I literally bought this morning.
I know you did. Des has had a bit of a luggage issue.
Lufthansa, just saying.
You guys
have got to sort your baggage systems
He's
out.
had a bit of a luggage issue, bless him. We've had to do some last-minute shopping, but we've got him sorted out.
Literally, walked into the shop, there was a Spy Family shirt, and I was straight in there. It was great. But long story short, I had to go and buy loads of stuff. I spent 2 hours this morning walking around, so the delays, in a way, have kind of helped me out.
You do fit in quite well with the theming, to be fair. We've got some... Yeah, over by me. Look, we've got the pink there.
Yeah.
The purple.
I see that. So what do you blend in with?
I'm sort of on with...
No, you're not.
in the red.
No, you're not.
I'm not red enough, am I, really?
No, it's like a really... It's a crap orange, Tim.
Is it?
What is it? What colour is that?
Don't start this argument
The buttons
again.
are beautiful. I like the buttons. The reds.
Buttons are
you guys can't see them
red.
very well, but they're like a real bright, like ruby red. They're very nice.
You can't. Sorry, I can't.
Stop pumping your chest out.
It's just how I walk around normally.
This is you trying to walk through a door. Sorry, boys. Just trying to get through it.
me, wide Ace and wide Des walking onto stream.
We've got wide Lush, haven't we?
Yeah.
Wide me Lush, but not wide Tim and wide Des.
Wider Chew.
Wider
Chew and wide of Pyrite.
Wide.
It's already gone. This is
Ace of wide right.
This is game 1. This is game 1, Des.
The thing is, we've got
3 days of groups to go. Yeah,
it's going to get no better as well. This is the best part. On the way here, like VU Fresh Blue got a little UK chat, and we were saying we're so buzzed for this.
Wide right.
Ace of wide right.
It is sent me.
Can we do a bet or something where you'll change your name on Twitter to that for the week?
We need to see what happens. We need something.
Let's do it on the winner of the game, or on a player getting a certain number of kills. It depends how easy you want to make it.
I don't know.
How keen are you on a scale of like 1 to 10 on making your name Ace of Wide Right?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm ready to just do it right now.
With your profile picture.
Like it.
Get a picture of you doing that.
I need to get it photoshopped so that I'm like really wide on my
Ace
profile
of
picture.
Wide Right would be the one. Yeah, do it. All right, let's forget about bets. Let's just
do it.
Let's just do it later.
Let's
why
just do
not?
it. I'll do it.
Hi, Ben. How you doing, mate? He's good. See, the thing is, you talk back when they walk past you like that, even when you're live, and they're just like, oh.
I mean, unfortunately, we haven't had any rounds yet, so unfortunately,
that was
we've
Citizen.
nothing to...
I call him Ben because I know pro players. Like,
not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Not at all. No.
Not to us.
No.
I know big casters as well.
Me too. Ace of Wide right.
They don't come much bigger.
They don't come much wider. That sounds bad. You're not wide, mate.
Oh, dear. We are going to get into the game really soon. Don't worry about that.
Look. You guys have had a lot of delays already.
It's not going to be yet another Ace and Desert Tube podcast.
The pots and the pans, Tim.
We've done it before. We're not going to take you down
No,
that.
but we could do that, though. That'd be
route.
decent. That'd be fun. For those who missed the context on this one, the Mexico Major last year, we had to fill for...
It was about 45 minutes.
About 45 minutes. And we had Jackie, bless his heart and soul. If you're watching Jackie...
I mean, Jackie is the perfect third wheel for any sort of
so
Fill/podcast situation.
He just has so many topics. And we just talk for half an hour.
He's got a lot of knowledge about... He's got a lot of... And he won't mind me saying this. He's got a lot of little bits of knowledge about lots of different things with Jackie. Any subject, he can throw something into the mix.
Yeah, and we just had a good chat. And I think the theme when we came back onto camera at the start was, let's bring pots and pans. Because in the prior map, I think someone had got a wicked shot through the pots and pans on Clubhouse Basement.
It was Shepherd.
I
got quite excited about it.
He's like a giddy little child, isn't he?
I remember it. I still remember it. I was shouting. But then, he got him through the pots and pans. I was very excited about it.
But you really then realised the differences in the regionality in the UK, because me and you brought back a saucepan.
Yeah.
And he brought back an actual, frying pan.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is still a pan.
This came up on, I think it was in it might have been on Discord, it might have been in Twitter the other day. So it came up the same thing. Somebody saying, no, a pan has to be, low. It has to be low and big. And I was like...
No, it doesn't.
No, and they were like, no, that's a pot. And this is the same discussion that Jackie was like, no, that's a pot. And we were like, no, it's called a saucepan for a reason.
It's not called a sauce pot, is it?
It's in the name.
It's not a sauce pot, guys. Come on.
In the name.
But yeah, that was good fun. And we will have plenty more Phil points, I'm sure. At some point throughout the event, there'll be pauses and we get to talk a bit of crap. We could stand here and just reel off stats at you guys. But it's
Let's
more
think
fun
about
to talk about Ace of Wide. Ace of Wide.
I was going to try and bring us back on subject,
we
but
can
then
now
you
if
throw
you
me
want.
back into...
Okay,
I was just going to say, let's talk about what we've seen so far today. So you and I have watched all of the games pretty much so far today. Don't wonder how we do that. They very kindly give us 2 television screens in our...
2.
I know. In our little sort of back room area, in the green room, they give us a screen for each so we can keep an eye on both. So we've seen
the wall is
all
probably
of the
about as
games so
wide
far.
as that wall. So we have 2 screens that basically fill the whole thing as well.
Yeah.
It's great. It's amazing.
Oh, I think I've just revealed that I didn't grow the pony in for the
No,
match.
you didn't. No, you didn't. He's wearing his his ball cap today. He's wearing on the back of his head. Yeah.
But yeah, so we've seen the game so far. Good performance from Rogue.
Yep.
A little bit of a slippery start.
Although those 2 rounds that were won by Dan Kia were clutch rounds.
Yeah, they
so
were.
I'll give him that.
But pretty good performance from Rogue.
Very good performance, yeah.
Pretty good performance from NIP. The only reason I'm saying pretty good at this point is because Dan Kia were not very good.
Yes, and
so,
I'll also say Wizard did go 14-2 playing ace support.
Yeah, so I've sort of still got... And that, to be fair, if you've not seen Wizard play too, he's a great player.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not necessarily his normal role to be top of the pops like that, going 14-2. That's not... It's not always
the man's
what we
on land.
He's gone crazy, don't get me wrong.
Transformed.
It's great, but it's not what we would always expect to see out of Wizard. He's, he plays a lot of Zafir, a lot of Jaeger, a lot of sort of the second entry, sort of flex entry sort of, operators. He does get the kills, but he's not getting as many necessarily as Muzi and Pino. But today
Pino
he's
was
gone.
naughty with the SMG on defence.
Pino's always naughty.
You got a
on
3K.
defense.
I think he was playing inside of... No, it wasn't in church. That was Psycho. I'm pretty sure he'd been mannequins and just got a 3K. And I was like, oh, that happens.
He does those things.
He
does those things.
In my awards, he was
again, we've had a little bit of a resurgence. We were talking about this last night. We've had a bit of a resurgence for NIP. And one thing that has come along with that resurgence is I've always talked about Pino on entry. He has this unreal ability to just get entry kills.
Yeah.
Somehow his name pops up first in the kill feed over and over again. Stage 2 BR6, he was right back on it. I think he was 23-11 on entry, just going absolutely crazy. And you're going to see plenty of it, I'm sure, at this tournament.
I'll tell you in a minute.
A good start for NIP, a really good start for NIP coming out today. But like I say, there's a little bit of an asterisk, and I'm not downplaying their performances. Both played really well. Both went out and won it, but it maybe wasn't, Dan Kia at their best either. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Rogue and NIP again, see them in action again, and see what they can bring in. I think that's going to be a great momentum builder for both of them, though.
I did my fraud... Well, I won't say fraud awards. It makes it sound like the players are frauds. They're my awards, therefore they are fraud awards by nature. And Pino was in the top 5, I believe, for entry. I want to say he was 23-11, like you said. But I was just curious who else is in there, and I'm trying to just dig it up as I scroll past the Flaming Room GIF, because it is hot.
It's, yeah. We're not too bad. We've got a fan.
To be fair, we've got a fan.
We've got a fan.
It's about time one of us got a fan at least.
Careful, my hair might start blowing in the breeze.
Mine already kind of has. It was up earlier, and now it's just like, oh yeah, flat. And I'm like, okay, great. Which is where it looks the worst.
I'm built for speed, for aerodynamics. I'm built for aerodynamics.
What sport are you doing that requires aerodynamics?
Oh, I wish I did one.
I'm sure there was a joke there somewhere.
I wish I did one, but I don't.
There was a joke somewhere that you could have thought of, but you didn't, and you've let me down so much. Where was Pino in this list? I definitely tagged him at some point, because I know he did well. Oh, it was Cost, actually, so it wasn't entry. It was 76%. He was third highest
He's had
rated.
a great stage. Pino's had a great stage. And like I said, that's true. Particularly Muzi, Pino, Psycho have really had, a good second portion to the year. And I think we're going to see a good NIP performance. I do. Like I say, I've still got that asterisk. I just want to see him against maybe Rogue. Let's see him up against quality teams. Not that Damwon Kia aren't, but they didn't put quality performances in today.
They're a quality team that weren't quality today.
Yes. And then on the B stream, of course, a little bit of an upset. And this is why I bring it up, because I love the chaos of groups.
I'm going to throw myself into the fire,
We've had our first bit of chaos.
What was the first game? Because I missed the first
Elevate
game.
Eminem.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
Elevate Eminem.
Yes.
So...
God damn it, Eminem.
We've then had Elevate come out and beat Astralis. And that's like, whoa, hang on a minute. That was unexpected. That
group for me, we were talking about other groups, and I think A is like, we haven't really got like a group of death per se, but a group A I think is one of the more competitive groups on paper. Now Damwon Kia have underperformed.
You sort of look at it a bit, but I've been saying this for quite a while now for Siege. You look through and like try to identify, right, where's the group of death.
Yeah.
But honestly, and this happens more and more at every event that we go to, every group gets better and better.
They do.
Like now we're at a point where every single group has got a minimum of 3 teams who could probably go on, and you wouldn't be surprised to see them in the final, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying they've got 3 teams that could win the whole event, but there's 3 teams that if they turned up there, you'd be like, yeah, okay, they've played well and they've got there. You wouldn't, or at least a semi-final, you wouldn't be surprised of. And this seems to continue going on. The more time that we have, the longer Siege goes on, these teams just get better and better and better. And we're at a point where you've got 16 teams coming in, and every group that you look at is becoming a group of death.
Yeah,
there's going to be big teams going home.
Yeah,
after Wednesday.
And looking at Group D, like everyone was looking at this group and saying, "Oh, Astralis make it through," and the other 3 are fighting for that second spot. Let the peasants fight over the second spot, making it through. Whereas now you see the Elevate come out and take a 2-0. Arguably, the team most looked at in that group and said they're probably the lowest rated. They'll finish 4th. They've got 2 wins on day 1.
Yeah. Exactly that. And I was saying this as well. 2 wins, just to put that into context for you. So a win gets you your 3 points. 2 wins on day 1 is a huge stride towards getting yourself into the playoffs.
Yeah.
9 points, it's not... Don't come for me with the maths. I know that it's not guaranteed.
Sprabuni, come for me with the maths.
Don't come for me with the maths. I know that it's not guaranteed, but 9 points puts you in a seriously good position. Seriously strong shout of getting that second place. Like you said, there were teams last time in Charlotte that were getting 9 points and they were going through on round difference and stuff. So if you can get 10 points... you've pretty much done it. You've pretty much got yourself that second place at that stage. So coming out of the first day with 6, Elevate are in a position now of maybe needing a win and a draw out of the next 4 games, and they go through to playoffs.
That's it.
But that is how big a double win on your first day is.
What I will say is I remember back in Charlotte, day 1 was the day of upsets. That's when everything was a bit bonkers.
It
was
went
like,
wild.
whoa. And day 2 and 3 did settle a bit more. I'm not at all saying Elevate aren't good enough to win and they've only done it because of the day 1 surprise. They could go on to win 2 games tomorrow and be through. But it's the day where maybe you'll see Astralis pick up a little bit. Eminem will see more of the form that maybe we've been used to seeing at certain points from them. What I was excited about for Eminem is Tyrant in EUL Stage 2 wasn't particularly sharp. He was a little bit quiet. So to see him now stepping up and having a real solid game was really cool to see. And just in case you wanted to see it, here's what the current group looks like. Just so you know what's going on, there is an SSD issue with one of the Sandbox players. We're waiting for that to get addressed, and then we can get back into game. But here is how things... Look, I know Damwon Kia have been hammered production, but you ain't got to give them 3 losses yet. They're down to 3 and 14 on the rounds, minus 11 as a round diff as well. Like, knowing the tiebreakers... that's going to sting if it comes down to, like you say, being on 9 points and 9 points with someone else. Wolves experienced that back in Charlotte. They were tied for 9 points and I believe went home as a result.
Yeah, that's it. And this is why day 1 can be so important. It's just the beauty of group phase. You can still have a comeback from this point. it works both ways. You know, nothing is written off yet. But yeah, a great start for NIP there. Really big win. You know, just rocketing them up to the top of the table. We've got our Group D as well, which is the other group. We're not showing you B and C because guess what? We haven't seen any games from it yet, so they're all sat on 0. There's no point of showing you that. But we go to Group D. Elevate sat up at the top. 2 wins, 6 points. Nobody else in the group with anything. And that just puts them in a fantastic position. They're going to be looking towards those later games now, you know, where Furia come into the mix and play Astralis and M&M later on. And I tell you what, some draws there and going into overtime, you know, dropping people getting 2 points and 1 point, that would be absolutely massive for Elevate. If Furia, you know, can start tying up Astralis, tie up M&M, start taking them into overtime, Elevate could be going to bed tonight thinking, we've pretty much done this.
Could well be, yeah. I think Furia is a really interesting one to talk about.
I don't know what to expect from Furia.
That's the danger.
I really don't. And this is me who loves Furia and have watched them for years. But
they've grown on me.
I just don't know what to expect.
I haven't fallen in love with their play style, but I do really like the team. I think it's really interesting the story they've gone down where we always talk about, you know, almost relegation back in 2020, the fight back, actually looking like serious contenders. I think it's almost a bit of time for them still to see their roster really gel and kind of settle together. It's like when you just lay down fresh concrete. It isn't hard straight away. Give it, you know, a few months, for example. Well, concrete needs a bit less than a few months, to be honest with you, Tim. I've ruined that analogy entirely.
He's not a builder, is he? All the builders in our stream now are thinking...
How many builders are sat here watching Siege on a Monday?
No, you'd be surprised. Because
really?
I once referred to the metal beams as joists, and I got
the girders.
I got a few messages about that saying, really pleased to hear you get it correct, that they are joists indeed. Yeah, no.
I thought you were saying you got it wrong, and I was like, what else would they call them?
No, you say that, you say that. But there are a few people who watch these streams in the know.
Concrete does not
and
take
right
a few
now,
months.
they've got their head in the hands with Des thinking that concrete takes months to say.
I was on about the team. No, I was more referring to things take time for these things to really gel together. And because they've got these changes coming in, it's going to take a bit of time. However, we are ready. We're back into Chalet. Woo! We get to go all over again. And hopefully this time round we will stay in the server and we can see how this one breaks down. Tim, could prove out to be a long day with all these games in this heat as well. We know things will cool down outside as the day goes by. The server, though, will not.
Oh, it's heating up. It's heating up every game, Des, because this is the thing. The teams from around the group start looking at the results going on as well. You know, you better believe they're watching these games. They're studying what other teams are doing, and they're also thinking about it in the bigger picture, the grand scheme. How does that factor against us? Who could we play in the playoffs? How does this all break down? Who's going through first where, second where? And it all just gets a bit fraught.
R6 Shirts has come at me and said it's either peach or blood orange. I don't think it's blood orange. It's not red enough.
No, it's not really peach. It's not orangey.
No. Look, all I'm going to say, R6 Shirts, is I'm stood right next to him. You're watching through a monitor somewhere. Pipe down.
I'll put a picture on Twitter later with like a close-up of it, and people.
I just love the buttons. They're my favourite.
We need to know what like the hex is, what the hex code is.
Just get a colour picker out. Ding.
Yeah.
Like the wall is peachy orange next to you on the left. Look.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and you are nowhere near that.
Nowhere near that.
It's more towards blood orange, but it's not blood orange either. We'll figure it out at some point. For now, we've got a game to cast. It's Bahrain Gaming for round 1 between Sandbox and G2. G2 start on the attacking side, and Alamau is moving over to playing on his trusty Nook, something we've seen him pick up a number of times throughout the stage, Tim.
It is, and you know we've heard from the NA players who are a little bit surprised sometimes that they don't see more Nock being played in EU. We love it because obviously it gives us the opportunity to throw a few puns around the place, Des, which I'm sure are not going to happen this time. But yes, Alamau, fantastic on it. You know, a good operator, great utility, a couple of nades in there, can get underneath, clear out roamers, quite self-sufficient. Just go in there, clear out the roamers themselves, use those vertical nades just to create pressure without having to sort of directly impact on site. It's not going to be necessarily too relevant here on games, but the nades are going to come particularly useful for clearing out library stairs this time, and that's where I talk about that flexibility.
Absolutely. Well, at least for now, looking on where they're trying to get control, they are aware of the Frost mats that are dotted around from Envy Taylor. Frost, a classic operator for Envy as well. Something we'll see him playing pretty much at any given opportunity on this map. So you will see more of that as things progress. Static here, who is normally their more supportive player, instead is playing on things like the Melusi. So supportive players moving forwards. However, the first engagement is between the two players we talked about so far. Alamau and Envy coming head-to-head with Envy being the first to fall.
That is a big start for G2 because you start unpicking this top floor defense and you start making Sandbox change things, move things, adjust. Now you've got Good Boy. He's been pushed into library. There's nobody mezzanine. There's an opportunity potentially for G2 to start pushing in and taking that space. I tell you now, the man at the top of library stairs just became a lot more important because if they can't hold on to that position, then Good Boy is done as well and it will start to fall apart. G2 are keeping that pressure on. They've got themselves the top floor. They're now established inside of office. They've got Citizen ready to go with the Finker outside of library. Good Boy tries to move inside of there. He's going to take some damage. G2 don't want to give away an easy pickup here. Shio, he's looking on towards the window. Good Boy does manage to get one onto Citizen, but not before the nade is released. And that's a direct trade. Alamau onto Shio, Doki onto Arakaze. And this defense has just fallen apart.
And of course, Alamau's found himself a 3K so far. Static on the drop. Looked like he was going to miss it, but finds the kill. Alamau closing out with a 4K. What a way to start a major, Tim.
Exactly that. I said G2 coming in. People will have seen them at the beginning of stage 2, and a lot of people will have written them off for this major. Am I saying they're going to go on and win it? No, not really. But can they? Absolutely. We've been saying this for the longest time. Look at the player names that they've got on that lineup. If they can find their stride and start working together, hitting shots, they could potentially be unstoppable, Des. We've thrown around super team for a long time, you know, but we've got to understand why that term has been used, and that's because of the players and the ability that they've got that are being brought into the server. And G2 just showed us that there. Beautiful play, got in there, just kill after kill after kill, and very nicely swept up from them.
Absolutely. And the beauty is, I did a little podcast with Lycan before we came to the major, and he was talking about the power of attacker repick we've all come to see. Not many teams really utilize it as much as they should, but look on the side of G2 here, Tim. 4 players changing away from the similar picks they made in the last round. You've got the Ying being brought along. The DKB returns once again. The book coming in place of the sledge. Just a total change in what their game plan is here now. They're knowing what site they're going into. G2 have got a plan here, and Sandbox need to be ready.
Heading into round number 2 then. Alamau switching across onto the Dorkaby this time. It's going to be bringing that utility with the universal phone calls, which will help narrow down the roamers. We've seen a push towards roamers for the basement site, trying to hold directly. I've been saying it for the longest time, trying to hold specifically just onto the basement with the turtle defense is very, very difficult to do because for the attack, it's super easy to break. You just open west main wall, trench wall, and you can go in and get the plant down so long as you've got control of dining. So what we've seen teams doing more recently is exactly this, getting themselves out onto the roam. Envy Taylor not going to be the opening death this time. He's going to find the opening kill, takes down Doki with a headshot, and that causes a big problem for G2 now. They've got to get in, they've got to deal with that roamer, and they know that they've got an alibi lurking around the top floor.
Dare I call it a little bit lazy there to be relying too hard on the DKB. It could be, that's a nice shot from Prana to catch Envy on his way down the solar stairs, but again, maybe a bit lazy there, relying far too hard on the DKB calls, not quite catching Envy inside a bedroom, and Doki's looking completely the wrong way. This is where you want a drone coming in first to give you that information. You've got enough out and about on the field, so that would have maybe kept him alive a little bit longer. The pain now is, Tim, they've lost the Thinker. That was their big execute-focused operator, so they're going to have to make this work without the Thinker on side, without the Candelas coming through, which they can do, but you're definitely reducing the impact that you have when the execute comes around.
That's it, you know.
Oh, Shile.
Without, like you say, without the Ying, it's a lot of the execution focus gone. Shile, he's just in a little rat spot here, Des. He might just get himself an absolute freebie if he times this right. Alamau goes in. This is, again, a little bit of sloppiness from G2. Not picking up on the drone in, not picking up with the face check, not going in there and making sure that they've seen every corner, every pixel of every room. And right now, Shile is in a position to massively punish them, but with a minute left to go, he's just going to hold on to that thought. He's not going anywhere just yet. I just hope that the opportunity doesn't pass him by.
It's the flank that you've got to worry about. You've got Static playing inside of the trench here as well, still not yet being forced back. So with 45 seconds to go, G2 have really got to get this game plan together. They know they've been in this far, they've were in a 5 versus 4, for a good while until Doki charged his way forward and lost out with the Ying. So in this point of 4v4, you've got the resources to make this work. You've got nades, you've got smokes, you've got flashes. You're out of phone calls, sure, but we've got to see the move. And here comes Child. Look, this side of the lobby goes for his one, but Alamau swings and finds his man. That flank does nothing. Charges down the main going for an X, but Good Boy comes out for the swing. It's a 1-for-1.
20 seconds left to go, and the time is now for G2. They've got to get moving into sight. Good Boy making it difficult with the keeper barricades. Is he going to get himself a second? Absolutely not. Virtue steps down the stairs, takes him down. 9 seconds left to go. Citizen finds Arakaze, and it's all up to Static. He's low health. Can he hold on? He's got the shot in. No! He gets taken down by Virtue, and that was all so close to Static. Those seconds were ticking by Des, but he just could not hold on. Shio, I said it at the time, Des. The timing of the flank was critical, and I just hoped that his opportunity hadn't passed him by, but it did, because he found himself in a 2v1 and he missed his shots onto his first man. If he hits the first, he can just run to blue stairs. His job is done, but he had to stay and he had to overcommit.
It's also a siege timing moment for him there, Tim, as well, because if he's half a second slower, he catches Alamau coming up from the bottom of stairs as well and gets him, then probably goes to the second guy inside a lobby, and that round looks very different. One thing I don't want to take away from, or sorry, do want to take away from here, I know G2 got the round win, but let's look at a few things again. Doki going down early by himself was a little bit questionable. They've got a DKB on side, they've got 7 drones alive. You had all the information to know someone was upstairs. You have no idea about Charlotte. It's kind of pot luck that he missed his first shot, and Alamau was in the spot to instantly go for the fight back to get the return kill. But those are 2 moments in that round that I'm looking at and thinking, Sandbox, or potentially a team that's really, any other team here that's got a real strong capability to do so, could have run away with the round from that point and saw it close out. It almost came down to a static clutch. It's all good leaning on the hero plays. I'm almost kind of coming around to a way of thinking that that's a very viable strategy. If you've got great gunners, let them frag out. Why not? But it makes me nervous that if you come up against a team that can shut that kind of stuff down, you're struggling in the later parts of this tournament.
Shio just going to be holding the tight angle, playing inside of games once again. It's exactly the same position pretty much that we saw him last time. Citizen nade in hand, must have a bit of information. Uses the information perfectly there, as you say. Just a well-cooked nade. Absolute perfection, chef's kiss.
2 nades across 3 rounds as well here for Citizen. Really good placement of them so far, doing absolute work on the Finker alongside the extra kill that he collected, of course, from his gun. So up 2-0 at this point, now starting to push their way across through the library is Doki, with 2 nades himself also in back pocket. 0 and 2, again being a little bit off the leash, dare we say, Tim, so far, charging his way forwards, hopefully with a little bit more control here, though, can get himself into the game.
That's it. With a couple of kills from Doki, could be a really dangerous thing for Sandbox here, because it'll do exactly that. It'll just spur him on to more. That is good play from Good Boy there. Going to be taking down the Rotero drone as it comes in. Just the big factor there is protecting that shield on top of Piano, because it prevents the attackers playing onto the double door that's bang in front of you. Alamau's going for it again.
Easy.
This time he gets away with it. And as you say, there's a little bit too easy, because now Good Boy's been forced back behind the half wall and things start opening up for G2.
It's normally where things like a mute jammer are brought along here to assist with this kind of play as well, and they do have a mute on side, obviously, in Shile, but the jammer's not in the right place to be able to deny the Flores Roteros coming raining through. This pressure now really starting to build up here inside of sites itself. Static being full white screened, has got a wonderful crouch spot here, but a man sees him off towards the right. Prano with no idea what was going on. Down he goes, and a second nade comes in from Citizen. His second in the round.
Doesn't get better use of utility in a round than that. 2 nades, 2 free kills for Citizen. Fantastic play. Prano just caught out, as you say, a little bit there. I don't think he knew that Static was being quite so aggressive, and he was like a rabbit in headlights there, just caught and shut down. But 4 versus 3, 50 seconds left to go. Diffuser on ground, but at least in the right place. G2 have got a real opportunity here. Good Boy, he's just looking to prevent any push coming in from the bathroom window. As G2, they're trying to extend their presence around site. They're trying to find new angles that they can just make it more and more difficult for them to be able to hold on. Quad kill for Citizen as he goes towards site and gets himself a double. That's the ace, that's the shutdown, and that is Kitchen Dining done.
2 nades and just walks up onto 90 and frags through 3 on site. I don't know if that's because Sandbox had so much focus going upstairs here. I won't lie, in that round, I wrongly assumed we were on the top floor site, but we were not, of course. We were downstairs inside a kitchen. But it just goes to show how good and how committed Sandbox were to that hold on the top floor. But even with, again, a kill onto Prano, small things going their way, G2, with the big hero plays, find the kills they sorely need.
Going to be heading towards gaming. Next up is going to be our next side. The thing is, if you remember, this is what I was saying at the beginning. I said about G2, I use that super team tag, which I often try to avoid, really. But the reason that I said it is exactly that. There are rounds that are going to be won by these players as individuals. Citizen, exactly, coming in with an ace, proving the point there. That is the ability that they've got within this team. So it's not going to be, easy for anybody to potentially walk over this G2 side if they are playing well. And right now, they're looking pretty sharp. We've got to remember, they're on the attack of Chalet. Let's not get carried away. We expect the attackers to do well here, and G2 are doing exactly that. But the question I would pose then is, when the sides switch, do you see this Sandbox side doing as well as G2?
It's an attacker-leaning game, is the thing at the minute, and Chalet is an attacker-leaning map, I'll give them that. But what I'm looking at here, Tim, is 8 nades coming through for G2. When Citizens just found 2 kills from 2 nades, why not bring 8 and hopefully you find all 5 kills with them? And I think on the other side, when you're not seeing things like the Wamai, of course, because it's been banned away, it makes total sense that you now try and lean into that style of play. But for Sandbox, as much as they've had good setups, I like where they've played around the map, for example, it does feel for the most part like they've kind of either sat and waited to die or been a little bit poor on the timing, or have just found more opportunistic kills rather than making plays themselves.
Seen a lot of this as well. Static taking damage there as he tries to rotate. We saw Envy Taylor get caught out. We saw Shiol in the same position. And this is a little bit of a problem that Sandbox needs to solve. They're moving around the map, but G2 are already there. They've already got their angles. They're already watching for that movement, and they're finding themselves not always kills, but at least damage. And it's sometimes you can look at Siege as a game where you're up against 500 HP, and every chip that you take away from it gives you that power, gives you that advantage. And right now, Sandbox are down to arguably about 470, and so it puts G2 on the front foot.
And G2 have got a whole lot more in the back pocket because of Finker. As we all know, it just completely erases the impact of those potential gunfights. You can just obviously heal your way through. You can enter into the gunfight with a shield, dare I say, a little bit extra padding to make sure you can take another shot. It's something I was talking about with Dev yesterday. Another wonderful nade coming out. This one, an easy one as well. It's like drone them out, get the nade through, 1, 2, 3, job done. And G2 are making it look easy. But again, back to that previous point, Aruni DMR was a big thing and still is for some APAC North teams. But with Finker being so strong in the meta, you struggle to 2 or 3 tap some operators now. You need to bring a little bit more firepower, which is why we're seeing things like Maruni moving back over towards Veroni, for example, more about the rapid fire or the headshot capability than these big punchy guns on the defensive side.
Sandbox just do not have an answer to these nades.
I heard it, Tim.
They just can't get away from them. They can't stop dying to them. It's forcing them out of position. They're even bringing the utility to deal with it. They've got the ADSs, but it doesn't matter where they're being played.
Oh, and almost getting a kill off the back of it. You're right,
there you go.
They've got to Finker a way out of this one because here we go. He's not even looking the right way. 3 kills fly through for G2. Envy left standing against the onslaught of G2 as they go up 4-0. Tim, they are flying in their home city.
Well, we said for G2 coming in, I said particularly, I don't know how G2 are going to fare here because I think a lot of people were expecting them, to be underdogs, to come in here and struggle, and right now they're showing us that's not the case against Sandbox at least. Are there going to be stiffer tests than we are seeing right now? Absolutely there are. I'm not getting carried away. Please, don't come for me on the timeline.
Come for Tim on the timeline, please.
I'm getting carried away because they've got 4 rounds against a poor Sandbox. I'm not. But you've got to look at the full picture. They've got the players. They've got the ability. They're in their home city. They've just got those comforts. They don't have the same travel, potential problems. Just everything comes together. They have had to travel here. They don't, all of them live here all the time. But it's just about that, knowing where stuff is. Just having that level of comfort.
With the local Five Guys, just a guess, yeah, why not? Other food stores are available. As we get back into game, then we've had our timeout at this point. It is still 4-0 to G2, and Sandbox need to get something back on track. Across the whole team, they have less kills than 2 players of G2, than 2 of the players on G2 have. Alamau and Citizen absolutely flying in this game, as the nades have been. I'm pretty sure 5 of their kills so far, Tim, have come in from nades. Just Sandbox finding themselves sat in odd spots, trying to play out around the map, but playing pretty static, dare I say, to steal the player's name. And G2 are just like, hey, he ain't moving. Chuck a nade there and get a free kill.
Sandbox last time when they defended Wine, for me, they didn't really commit heavily enough to the roam. They tried to play the roam game, and it was basically Envy Taylor on the top floor with Alibi. Chalet was out in the map with the Jaeger, but took the choice to sit in games for the majority of the round. And the problem was, it left Envy Taylor isolated. He was quickly dealt with. Yes, he got the opening kill, but it was dealt with, I would say within trade time scale, realistically, when he tried to move past those Solarium windows. And it just left them a real problem where the pressure started to mount on site. So Chalet has to move, and it doesn't really work out. So for me, if you're going to commit to the top floor roam, or the whole map roam that we've been seeing as a defence for Wine, you got to commit to it. You got to have those players out there, staying loose, keeping the movement there. They've got the Azami playing in Trench to prevent. It's actually Static that's moved in there with the smoke. So Static's going to be trying to hold on to Trench for as long as possible. But G2, they can't go near that until they've cleared out the rest of the map. So if you're doing it, Sandbox, commit to it. Keep your men out in the map and try to burn as much time as you can.
Yeah. And I think, again, we saw how they got a freebie last time round with Envy getting the pickup onto Doki as he came charging in through Solar. So at least this time round, G2 have kind of changed on that side. I was going to say what I want to see is less static playing on the roam, is more movement around the map, getting busy, looking to try and find gunfights rather than strictly waiting for them. And that is kind of what Envy's done. He's moved his way out of playing inside of Master here and has now moved out towards Solar. Now, the issue is, if G2 don't care about this, they don't, they aren't worried about the north side of things, they can just chuck down a flank drone, as they have done underneath the bookcase. They can see everything down towards Piano, and with that, can instead turn their attention towards the site itself.
That's well played from Sandbox. They've been able to deal with the first step of utility that was applied to the snowmobile door. It was one exothermic charge, and that is gone. You can see it was an impact nade out through the drone. Oh, they're going to throw a second one out, but Good Boy doesn't quite hit the shot with it this time. I think the exothermic just a little bit further over as well prevented it from being taken out. So that is now main door open. It's not usually the focus of an execute, but it's not a bad option, because what it does is it forces the defenders to turn on their heels. They have to be aware of that breach as well as the rear side as well. So Sandbox, they've got a lot to think about here, but I will say it's been a better round for them than previous. They're still 5v5 at least.
Envy sat there waiting for them to come to him when it's just not going to happen. That's not their focus. Yeah, he still hasn't moved inside a bathroom. The pings come in. They have an idea that he's up there as well. So at this point, what's the worry? You can hit site and just say, yeah, he won't be here in time. We can crack on. And that's exactly what Doki's going through. First one eaten by an ADS. Finds the second man, but can't quite get the kill. Sees one on Pillar. Going for crouch height. Alama on the backside as well. Finds Static as he's hit them with the backstab. Incoming with the plant as well. 2 kills already down. And you start to wonder, where is the solace for Sandbox? It's nowhere to be found. Virtue gets Envy on the flank. And Charles is last alive. In they come for the swing. G2 cannot be stopped.
That was absolutely ridiculous play from Doki there. Candela goes down, and he's just in his element inside a connector. That's where Doki wants to be.
As well.
That's where Doki wants to be. He wants to be in amongst it. Shot to the left, shot to the right. That's perfect for him. That is his real territory to operate, and he's just shown us how well he can do. Created so much space for G2, because all that happened was that Sandbox went, oh no, we're dying from connector. All eyes go to connector, and the rest of G2 step in and go, yeah, no problem, we'll come in through the back door, we'll come in through the main stairs, we'll come through everywhere.
It was Alamau coming in from Trench at top side that was the real swing, because he stepped in, got the kill into Blue onto Static, who was sat there, and it was like, well, now what? You've got no cover inside of Blue remaining. Your pillar player's now being pinched in from 2 sides. You're screwed, basically. And when MB finally starts to make his move and leaves the bathroom, Virtue sat on flank watch. Like, G2 aren't having to do anything particularly complicated. They're playing it wonderfully. I will not take that away from them. But Sandbox, you cannot sit out on the roam on top floor for 2.5 minutes and then think, oh, I guess I best move now. If they haven't come for you inside 60 seconds, you want to be moving. Go and find something else to do around the map, else you're going to be flank watched all game and you have 0 impacts.
There's 2 things happening here at the same time. You know, we often talk about, our teams winning it or our teams losing a game. And there's both of those things are happening simultaneously here. G2 are playing well and they are winning the game. They are beating the team that's in front of them. And Sandbox, they are losing this game. They're leaving too many holes, too many cracks. They're not, shutting down what G2 are trying to do on the attack. And what happens? It's a perfect storm. When a team are winning it and a team are losing it on the other side, that's when you start getting 6-0 halves. That's when you start getting 7-0 games.
I mean, Tim, just looking down their kills again, they've got 7 across the entire game, across 5 rounds.
5 rounds, 35 potential kills.
It is not looking
25.
good.
25.
It just doesn't look good, no matter which way you want to look at things. In comes Citizen, sees the man still going quiet here, but Virtue steals his
Just
kill.
chased him into him. It was perfectly
He didn't
played.
know. He had no idea he was there. If he pops his head up again now, maybe find the second man. Good boy is sat at the top of these stairs. Up comes Citizen, sees the man, but again, just misses out by a fraction on what could have been his second kill in the round. But it was good trigger discipline from Citizen to let Virtue find the kill.
The problem that Sandbox have got now is that G2 are playing with real confidence here. That's the problem. You can see it with Citizen moving in so quickly, for example. Now, Sandbox have been able to put the brakes on a little bit, but Citizen gets the job done to get that breach open. The Azami is above, so they need to be very careful of Static, making sure he doesn't hit them from the flank, but I think they're aware of that. Prano's heading up there to start dealing with this top floor problem. The thing is, G2 need to not get carried away. As I said, they're playing with confidence, they're playing on aggression, they're playing on speed, that's fine, but just remember, you got 3 minutes to do everything you need to do. Don't let somebody creep through and get a kill from behind because you haven't taken the time to go and clear them out. And G2 have actually hit that pause button on this attack pretty well here.
And at this point as well, they're starting to force him out. Yes, you've got a couple of Azami barriers down. You've got Static up here now darting away. So he has taken the right call. It's the kind of thing I was mentioning for Sandbox is, look, spend a bit of time there, but be willing to move when things start to get dicey or when the situation changes in the round. And Static has read that very well.
Static's just going to be keeping hold in this long angle, but no, G2 once again have done what they've been doing so far so well, has been to go in, identify the problem, close him down and deal with him. Static taken out now leaves only ground floor defenders, so G2 can start thinking about site, they can start thinking about putting Prano in a position to put that diffuser down. They haven't needed to actually go for that final execute yet. Good boy, he's just going to wait for the longest time here. He doesn't need to push this. The onus is on Virtue to do something, but here comes the sneak attack from behind. Citizen knows the corner's clear now. Prano can go in with the cover of Citizen and start getting the diffuser down. That's going to be the kill. Citizen on onto Arakaze. Citizen onto Good Boy. And what a day Citizen is having.
Unleashed is the only way I can describe this so far today. The boys look phenomenal. Like every gunfight they're winning. The nade placements, the team play. Again, you're against an opponent that, let's be honest, ain't really punch you back at this point, but it still has the core fundamentals that are showing. This team's game against the Sonics later is going to be a screamer.
This is it, Arakaze. Yes, I know people are going to be saying, well, Sandbox aren't really, competing to the level we'd normally expect here in this matchup, and you're absolutely right. But I've said it countless times, teams can only beat what is in front of them,
Absolutely.
And G2 are doing that right now. I won't have it said that they're not playing well, that they're not going in there and dealing with what's in front of them, because they are. There are problems at times, and they are finding the solutions. And they are, every time, putting Sandbox in positions, and to a degree, Sandbox are putting themselves in those positions where they're on the back foot in these gunfights, where they are in a difficult position to hold on to. But G2 are taking full advantage of that as well. So they're going to move on to the defense now. It's going to be 6-0 in that first half. A perfect, clean sweep on the attack. Can G2 do it on the defense? It's somewhere we have had question marks about G2 in the past, the recent past.
Yeah. I mean, defense is difficult for a lot of teams at the minute. Again, something else I'll tell you what, Shyle. Doki.
The problem is G2 are playing defense with confidence now.
Yeah, Doki's barking. He's barking at him. He's ready to go. But no, that's exactly it. Again, for defenders in the current meta, knowing that attackers can change up, as Sandbox have done, they've completely changed their lineup, knowing they can bring the most optimal lineup, you always need to be getting out on the map, getting busy and trying to find kills or some way of disrupting the attackers. And that's exactly what Doki was going for there, whereas Sandbox, arguably in the first half, a little bit passive, a little bit kind of wait for G2 to come to us rather than go looking for trouble, and that's what cost them. At least here for G2 again, several players looking to get busy.
Yeah, I mean, G2 need to be cautious. They are 6-0 up, but what they don't want to do is just start throwing men at this. They don't want to just start throwing bodies at this. They want to be going in, making sure that the contacts are still clean, that they are getting the advantage in the gunfights. They don't need to pressure this too much now. There's nothing wrong with, take the opportunity of a quick peek. Here go Sandbox, pushing in. They're going to get one in trophy. Can they find a second? Good boy. Going in with the LMG in hand. No shutdown. Important kill from that man Citizen. Once again, he continues to hold on to Kitchen. Another one onto Arakaze before ultimately being shut down by Shayo. But that leaves us now 3v3. G2 still in control of site. They know the push is coming for Trophy. Doki finds just a couple of picks pixels in the glass case in trophy and gets himself a trophy for a beautiful headshot. 3v2.
DMR v DMR, and Static wins out in the 2v2. Tim, there's still 90 seconds left to go in the round, so things could even slow down here for a short while whilst the teams kind of reconfigure, recontemplate what it is they're trying to focus on here, because Alamau's held the upstairs this entire time. He hasn't budged. He has moved around the top floor a little bit, but hasn't bothered getting involved in the fighting downstairs, just showing the confidence that he had in his teammates to hold down the site itself.
Exactly. I don't think G2 necessarily, expected the rush. Virtue got caught out, but they were more than able to react to it. Prano just manages to keep himself out as line of sight, but as I say that, just overexposing, and will be taken down by Envy Taylor. It's all up to Alamau. He finds one, surely not. Can he find the second? He's going to be taking some damage from the asphyxiation arrow now. Then he's 1 HP and a dream. Can he find his man? No! Envy Taylor able to close out the first round that Sandbox managed to win, and that puts us now 6-1. And I'm not even going to talk about comeback trails just yet.
I mean, it was scrappy as all hell. If it comes down to a 1v1, you kind of say, need more information before making a super assessment on that one. I do like how Sandbox did what many teams talk about, the best time to rush straight after a timeout or in the first round of the half. They've gone for the first round of the half. They've got the smokes in. They've had 2 players burst into West Main. And to be fair to Citizen, he found 2 big kills that really took the bite out of the attack, because there was also coming in through the trophy window. So this big focus on West Main and trophy was controlled, but in the 2 versus 2, fortunately for Sandbox, MV could hold firm and get the closing kill they need. Now we move on to the upstairs, and we'll see how things shape up. Is it going to be the start of a comeback for Sandbox, or was it simply a blip on the radar for G2?
Up to the top floor we go, deciding that they need a little bit less territory to hold on to, maybe. The problem with kitchen and dining is that you're also trying to hold on to master and office, so G2 this time just going to be focusing on that specifically as the site. Opening up a lot of lines of sight that will lead through into library. Now, Doki, what is he up to down there? Just in the basement there, we see him playing in and around that snowmobile wall. I'm not sure exactly what he was looking at, whether he's opened anything up with the bailiff or not. He's going to open the hatch, and he's looking for more aggression on the peak.
He didn't smash the glass out here as well, but I think you don't want to hold that angle all that long, otherwise they're coming from the other side and dome you and you're done. So a couple of the alibis drop down, and then he's going to rotate himself back away, no doubt try and keep himself at least in the question, because like we saw in the last round, he was out there with that DMR looking to find early kills at the very start of the round. Again, look to challenge every single foot of land that you can and keep Sandbox asking questions and try and burn that clock down.
Citizen in kitchen once again. So G2 definitely with a presence out in the map, particularly underneath the site for the time being. Citizen not able to impact too much. He does have impact nades, but not able to play too much vertically onto the site. Doesn't have the nitro in hand that Alamau does, for example. But Alamau is going to be playing in master bedroom for the time being. So just cautious of any potential runouts there. We're going to have the Claymores going to be put down by Sandbox. And the question for Sandbox is now, is 1 round enough? If they can find a second, find a third, does it add that stability that they're going to need?
I mean, stability is what they sorely need, Tim. Again, bearing in mind, they do not have a tactical timeout. They took it after the 4th round and then went on to lose 2 more. So you've got to figure things out on the fly here as they play. It's a good start to get a bit of chip damage down into Virtue, who gets his way back into sight with the rotation being opened up. Good little escape there from what was looking like a very dicey situation on the north side of the map.
Exactly that. As you say, taken about 90 damage there, so definitely needs to be cautious. Still got Toxic Babe canisters in pocket as well, but has wasted half of the round, or at least contributed to it. Good Boy has got himself established inside a solo, manages to find the kill, supported by the nade going in as well. He's going to be looking for a second. Chalet is, however, with the call out, the comms coming in. We see it in front of our eyes there as the kill comes in. 5 versus 3 now for Sandbox.
And here comes the potential, dare I say, retake from G2 as well. They're trying to set their way back in towards site here. They've abandoned any kind of hold they had inside a library, but Good Boy gets the second. I spoke about this guy, one of the new 18-year-olds on the block who has got a nasty shot on him on the right day. Doki trying to work his way back through, but double window isn't secure. Finds the man pushing through, but Static gets the diffuser down, and G2, this round looks to be done.
Certainly does. Big plant from Static there, because it just puts these 2 G2 players under even more pressure. Citizen Doki super low health, looking to move through, but Sandbox have had the time now after that diffuser went down to
Surely
be able
not.
to move into safer positions. Arakaze, he finds Dorky, what little health he had left with a nade. Citizens pinned down, shut out, and that is going to be the round to Sandbox. 2-6 now as they start to get moving on the attack, and the defensive worries continue for G2.
It's one of those in a way where the two of them are looking to, and this is referring to Alamar and Prano, they were looking to be hyper-aggressive in towards Solar, but the big issue they had was, well, you don't really have the angle control. There were nades coming flying at you. You had two players springing in on you, and it's almost like they were trying to force the issue. They were trying to force a response back to get something going for them. But once those two players had gone down, it was done and dusted.
I'm going to have a timeout coming in for G2. I love our new interface that we get here. I commented on it in the last game, T-Des. We've got, it tells you who it is up at the top of the screen, exactly how long is remaining on the timeout. And we've also got the details down at the bottom as to how many timeouts are remaining. Each team can have one during the period of the match. So you can see there, they're on out 0 left. We're going to play this one out to the finish. G2 just deciding after those 2 rounds, I don't think it's so much about the 2 rounds. It's about the manner of the losses in those 2 rounds where they think we need to just try and put the brakes on here a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, let's see if they can recover things here. G2, well, I say recover. If they've recovered it, they win. But Sandbox are kind of on that point where, okay, first round, it was scrappy. It came down to a 1v1. Second round, much more in control. Dealt with the 2 players of G2 that stood in your way. G2 still have that full choice, though, of what side we play. And we're going into one of the more popular on this map in bar and gaming. If you guys have seen this a million times before, you'll know exactly what I'm about to say. More often than not, the defense will start on the upstairs, around library stairs, in library itself. Teams have very different variations of how they choose to defend this, but all of it revolves around the holding of library. And this is the interesting point I was going to make, Tim. I think it's Dark Zero, but especially with NJR, who plays through that rotation that you just saw Prano open up. Most teams will actually reinforce that wall off entirely, but G2 here are opening basically everything up so they can play through it and just rotate through quite comfortably. You do need some ADSs inside a library so you don't get naded inside a box, for example, but that'll be where Prano starts dropping these down now to catch any nades that do come singing through.
Yeah, as you say, it's especially with the keeper barricades as well. They're going to add, you know, an extra layer of protection there potentially, because you've then got Dorky, who's maybe a little bit more able to peek to support anybody who's playing inside of library box. Envy Taylor's going to take some early damage there, but Virtue's going to take more as we have another one of those peaking battles coming out. G2 have chosen to get aggressive at the beginning of every single one of their defensive rounds so far and take those peaks outside of the map, but Sandbox are certainly waking up and they are ready for them.
Well, they've completely changed around who's playing what here as well, where Alamal's now back onto the operator that made him famous, dare we say, the smoke, whereas Virtue's being given that agency to get out on the roam, a total reverse to what we saw in the previous round. So I like how maybe they're saying here, right, okay, can we play the roam a little bit differently here? It's a different site as well. Let's rotate around exactly who's doing what. And for Sandbox, they're still looking to get the initial setup done, given we are only 60 seconds into the round.
A little bit over-aggressive with the drone-in, I think, there from Sandbox, just giving one away to a mute jammer. We know how critical that drone utility can be. They've still got plenty on board, 8 left alive, so it's not the end of the world for them. But they certainly don't want to be giving them away for free like that. Arakaze still trying to get established inside a library, as you say, playing into a corner where there is nobody present. Instead, the danger is Prano inside of library box. Going to clear out the first keeper barricade there. Kills come in. Dorky Prano beautifully dealt with by Sandbox as they just get themselves straight into library.
Again, it's a really good execute. They make the call. The nades come through. The players swarm inside a library. They get 2 kills. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, Tim. And this again is why so many players are saying attacking is just so easy compared to defense at the moment. You jump in with juiced up HP thanks to the Finky. You got nades supporting you, big guns. Defenders will struggle to respond more often than not, and that's exactly what G2 are now discovering. They're down to a 2 versus 5, and with Sandbox with 60 seconds on the clock, there's no way they don't close out this round.
Absolutely not. Virtue holding that vertical angle. If anybody oversteps, the problem is he's only going to get himself one, and there's more of a fight back required. Bullets coming in from both directions. He was caught in a crossfire. Alamai manages to find Arakaze, but that is going to be the limit as Shayo finds the trade, and that's going to be Sandbox bringing themselves to 3-6. And now it might just be time to start talking about the potential for that comeback.
Do we dare? Do we dare?
We've got to at some point.
I mean, the thing is, I'm pretty sure it was Sandbox who were up 6-0 on Consulate and still lost it 8-6. I forget where it was at, whether it was a major or if it was in the stage play. But they have been up 6-0 before and still lost the map 8-6. So don't count them out. They know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. G2 moving over to kitchen dining once again here. So scrambling for ideas, Tim. Kind of feeling, okay, maybe we've got a better chance over here doing A, B, C, and D rather than X, Y, and Z over there. It just feels maybe that they're starting to run out of ideas here. Maybe that sense of panic is starting to creep in.
I mean, we haven't really seen the proper, I'll use proper in inverted commas, attack for Sandbox on this site. If you remember, we saw it back in round 7. It was G2's first defensive choice, and Sandbox rushed it. They went in through West Main window, and they just looked to aggress and get themselves in trophy, get themselves established. G2 were able to scrap and keep themselves into the late round, but ultimately Sandbox got the win. It was a 1v2 for Alamau that he brought back to a 1v1. But G2, they haven't seen a proper attack here, so I can understand that maybe they've got a little bit of confidence to think, let's really see what Sandbox can do on this site when they're not going to rush in.
Well, looking at the lineup, Tim, I think it feels very obvious what they're going to try and do, I feel. Looking at the Ossa and the Glass coming along together, I wouldn't be too surprised to see them put some focus in towards main lobby, for example. Basically what you want to do here is get the dining hall opened up inside a lobby, have the Glass play on the back stairs at super long range with the smokes of things like the Ying covering it, the Ossa coming through as well. Play that long range, get the Ossa inside a site and plant in behind the shield. Those two operators are the linchpins here. The Ying makes it way easier to do, of course. You're looking definitely towards the Thermite to get the wall opened up for you. They've got all the tools necessary, but we saw what happened to G2's attacks when they lost the Ying early on. It lacked a little bit of bite. Things really peeled back. So it's critical that they keep especially the Glass and the Ossa alive, but you really want the Ying as well here.
Going to have the fight over Library Stairs as Doki tries to hold on for the time being. Doesn't want to be giving this up because it supports his players up on the top floor as well, of which there are a couple. Overextends and gets shut down by a Shiol who was more than ready for that fight. That's going to be a nice headshot onto Doki. And as you can see, the pressure starts to mount on the players above. But Citizen able to take down Shiol. That's an LMG off the board, and that is not a bad shout at all from Citizen.
Virtue was down below. I thought for a second he was going to come up the stairs as well, but is now watching the other stairs from down through the hatch. In case you do see that Glass step up on there. At the minute, it's Arakaze holding up on the top side. Like I mentioned, you want this spot for the Glass. This is exactly where Good Boy wants to be. If they aren't aware of Virtue on the downstairs, in fact, he's rotated off, never mind. Otherwise, he could have been in such a good spot, but he's now going to rotate himself away to rejoin his team.
Good Boy just using the Glass scope, knows that there's somebody inside of office, has the ping there to tell him, but at this point just going to support the direct push onto site instead. G2 unlikely to come down unless forced here because they can potentially hold on to this from above. Just going to have a bit of missed utility there, unfortunately, from Static.
They're going to be in trouble here if he hits this impact. They can't get the wall opened up. They get it through. Okay, he baited it. I think Static kept it. No, he lost it. Okay, the wall's open. I was going to say, thank God. Otherwise, this attack was very suddenly in the gutter. They've got the setup they need. The Ossa needs to get in spot. The Glass has got to do his work. They've got all the components coming together. They've just got to be so careful about the players on the upstairs.
That's the thing. They haven't taken that top floor control. Envy Taylor, he's going to take a lot of damage. 35 seconds left to go, and the time is now for Sandbox to start pushing forward. The glasses of the Warden could be particularly important as Alamau keeps his vision. He's able to get one. He's able to get two. He's able to get three. Alamau on the long range might just have won this opening game for G2 as we now find ourselves in a 3 versus 1. It's Harakaze on the Ossa. He's got 15 seconds left to go, and he's got an absolute mountain of work ahead of him. The diffuser is down. It's in no man's land. He's going to have to push into the lines of sight of G2 here with 5 seconds left to go. Surely this one is over, and G2 take the full 3 points to kick them off at the Berlin Major.
I mean, right idea, Sandbox, but terrible execution. Why is your Glass sprinting inside of sight when you've got smokes down? It's why you bring the Glasses to make use of the smokes. But he comes charging in. The Warden can see everything, and there is no one to respond to Alamau's massive 3K at the close. 14 kills for Alamau, 15 for Citizen. Those two boys have run the mill in that game.
Yeah, they really have, Des, as you say. Just a really great performance from G2 to get that one shut down. Beautiful from Alamau. Long range, using the Warden. The gadget brought in at the perfect time. You know, pretty good from G2. A lot of work yet to be done for Sandbox.
We'll go to a quick break, though. When we come back, we'll have a bit more of a chat about this game.
We were right to leave Rainbow. We are stronger than we've ever been, and our new recruits legitimize us in the eyes of many skeptics. What is a high price tag when success is guaranteed? Our results speak for themselves and give us leeway to operate as we wish. The world is not designed to foster talent. Fall in line. Do what is expected of you. In my life, I've often found that the great rarely fit traditional standards. When you confine excellence, it suffocates.
Ace, wall down in 5. Thinker, prepare for a rush.
In removing these restraints, I have redefined what an operational unit can be.
Forward, now. Go, 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 go.
Some might see us as selfish and opportunistic. Let them. Nighthaven will leave them in the dust as we saw.
Welcome back to the Berlin Major. We've just had an absolute banger of a game, Tim. Sandbox versus G2. Looks in the second half a little bit dicey for G2, like they might potentially be throwing away what was a 6-0 lead, but they do close things out in round 10.
I might look slightly confused. I've no idea where I put my glasses.
You dropped them on the floor, mate.
Did I? That'll be where they are.
Didn't you see it?
Hang on. Let me go and get them. I couldn't back. I was looking around everywhere, coming back on. I had no idea where they were.
I did the classic British thing. Like, he took his headset off and they fell off and I went, oi, and you went, oi, in response as well.
I didn't know that's what it was for. I thought you were just doing it. Anyway.
I never just randomly go, oi.
Anyway,
Oi.
We've just seen a game between G2 and Sandbox. G2 looking okay. I don't want to get carried away.
Great on attack.
Yes, I'm not getting carried away. I did say that potentially defense is where we've seen them have problems before.
Yeah.
This time, they gave 3 rounds up, but they were able to then go back and lock it down. It was a nice final defense. My beautiful long angle, hit a few nasty shots on it as well. So overall, I think G2 looking pretty good.
I want to go to that round that lost it as well for Sandbox, because on the attacking side, we said at the very start of the round, you've got an Ossa, you've got a Glaz, you've got loads of smokes, you've got a Ying. What are you going to do? You're attacking through lobby. Makes perfect sense. Then the real problem just came in when you have a Glaz sprinting through sight. Like, Glaz, for those who don't know, can see through smoke when he stands still. It's the whole reason why you bring the Glaz. But they just misplay that attack, and G2 are like, well, that's a freebie. Take the free kills and get the close. And I mentioned the kills that we saw just at the very end on our scoreboard. Here you guys get to see them in full beauty as well. Citizen 15 kills and Alamar 14. An absolute screamer of a start for those two.
Yeah, it was, and that's dangerous for everybody else in this group. That's the way you've got to look at it. That's 29 kills between the two of them, and if that continues, you're going to have big problems coming up against them.
What makes me a little bit nervous for Sandbox is you're now coming out a game where you've lost and you've got to play again. You've got to now recover yourself in the space of 10, 15 minutes and be ready to go into your next game, and that doesn't feel good.
Not at all. I mean, we saw it for Damwon Kia earlier on the A stream at the beginning of the day. They weren't able to turn it around. If anything, their second game got worse. And Sandbox, they don't have an easy opponent to come up against next. It's not going to be an easy game for them. And yeah, it's going to be.
What game is easy though? In any of these groups, it feels like
exactly.
Right?
Sandbox coming up against FaZe. That is going to be a tall order. When you look at, you'd have to say coming into this, FaZe are the better team than G2 in terms of performance that we've seen from them. So it's not going to get any easier for Sandbox here.
It's not, but it's still, if you're a G2 fan, it's a promising sign. Question marks on the defense, but the attack was lethal. The nade use, the team play, everything about it was beautiful. So let's not take it away from G2 here.
No, not at all.
Sandbox had some questionable moments, but G2 still took advantage of that situation and got the 3 points.
Yeah, we say this all the time. Yes, teams can make mistakes, but if the other team doesn't punish them for them, They go unnoticed. It's not a problem. And G2, you know, they beat what was in front of them, give themselves a fantastic start with 3 points.
Absolutely. Well, with that said, here's the look at the ranking of the groups as well, just so you can see how things currently stand. This is Group A that we saw play earlier on today. Damwon Kia having a torrid time in the start of their first 2 games against NIP and Rogue. Sandbox and their Korean brothers are following the same here with their defeat against G2. Let's take a look also at Group D, I want to say, is going to come up next. Okay, no, it's B, because now we've had games there. Production, don't apologise, it's fine. G2 now the only team currently set on those 3 points after their victory against Sandbox. And we'll see FaZe play next. Before, Tim, we get G2 versus Sonics later. We get the Super versus Alamo beef. That's what I'm here for.
A tasty morsel.
Oh, tasty morsel, mate. That's the main course.
It really is going to be. Of course, we had Group C played on A-Stream as well. We don't know the result of that one. I don't think it's over yet, so we can see that's pretty much the standings confirming that it's not over yet. We will maybe bring you an update on that when we have one. And then our final group, Group D, is obviously the one with Elevate that we saw play out earlier.
Steaming.
And Elevate just absolutely rolling over their first 2 games of Astralis and M&M Gaming, only dropping 7 rounds between both games, let alone in one of them, able to give themselves a +7 round difference and 6 points top of the standings.
Imagine a world where the grand finalists from Charlotte don't make it out of groups.
Stranger things have happened, is what I would say. We've seen it before.
It was on
We've
Netflix,
seen
mate. Yeah.
good one. We've seen NIP as SI winners, then fail to get out of groups, fail to qualify for majors. It could happen.
It's just one of those days where, again, the first day of groups, like, I love groups in general.
Chaos!
But day one is the day for chaos. It's where
it really
all the kind of crazy stuff comes out. Like, truthfully, I thought Sandbox would maybe perform a little bit stronger. I thought G2 maybe wouldn't be as convincing, but they are. They've got the Berlin buff, Tim.
They really do at the minute. Whether that's going to continue, that's the other beauty of groups. We go into day 2, day 3. There's so much siege left to play, and we see teams come out and have these great opening days, and then they can't buy another win after that point, and you'll get a team like Damwon Kia who just come out and look like a different force on day 2. Oh, there's so many questions yet to be answered.
Can't wait to see. Well, that does mean our second game, well, 4th game of the day, but second game for me and Ace of Wide right here will be coming up shortly. Sandbox coming up against FaZe. We'll see you guys soon. Ace of Wide right.